Welcome to the Black Voice Hertfordshire Community Meeting. Our speakers tonight are Glenn Russell, Sam McKenday and Sonia Carr. To find out more about the Black Voice Hertfordshire Community Meeting, please view the chat now. To note our house rules, please view the chat now. Speakers, collaborations, volunteers, we need you. Email us at blackvoiceletchworth@gmail.com. To find out more about Black Voice Letchworth, please view the chat now. Our two main aims are to fundraise for the UK's first Black History, Museum, Library and School of Cultural and Creative Arts and to support the Black community. Please note our socials in the chat now. Our online services include Kids Gaming Group, the BVL Radio Show, Funky Ma, our parent and child fitness class, Mama Sugar Shakes, our 0 to 5 preschool programme, the Black History School, mental health support, legal advice support, the Accountability Dossier, the Al Kubalan Festival, Hate Crime Reporting Centre, employment support, computer and internet support, the BVL magazine, short films and documentaries, online courses, private function entertainment, online Saturday events monthly. Please note our donation information in the chat. Save the date, the next Black Voice Hertfordshire Community Meeting, Friday the 29th of October 2021. Working together for change, our Black Voice Letchworth team welcomes you and we hope you enjoy the meeting tonight. Thank you. Welcome everyone and good evening. Welcome to the Black Voice Hertfordshire Community Meeting for September. We would especially like to welcome our speakers to this meeting. Our first speaker will be Glenn Russell from Hypnotherapy Pathway Rooms, who will be discussing the Black community and therapy. Next, we will be hearing from Sam McKenday, who will be delivering a talk on respect in the African community. Then Sonia Carr will follow. Sonia will be talking about respect in the Caribbean community. Before we begin, here are our house rules. Please remain muted at all times, apart from when you are contributing. Please use the virtual Zoom hands up button to give notification that you would like to contribute or write your question, comment in the chat box. Due to the specific nature of the space, please refrain from using any and all known and unknown ethnic group acronyms and words. Please wait for a contribution to end before you contribute. Raise voice or voices over a contribution is not permitted. Please do not swear or use foul language. Please place all contact information, events, projects of your organisation, etc. that you wish to share in the chat. Black Voice Letchworth is on many social media platforms. Please come and connect with us. We are on Facebook, Tumblr, Pinterest, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram and LinkedIn under the name Black Voice Letchworth, on Snapchat and Twitter with the name Black Voice L. We have a website at Black Voice Letchworth at www.blackvoiceletchworth.com. Our contact number is 07581720032 and our emails are blackvoiceletchworth@gmail.com and bvlinquiries@gmail.com. All of our places where you can find us online will be posted into the chat. A link to the form where you can provide feedback about the Black Voice Hertfordshire community meetings will also be in the chat. If you don't receive your reminder emails for Black Voice Hertfordshire or the minutes and recordings of these meetings, please feel free to use the other link in the chat to tell us your email address. This is not mandatory, but there are quite a few people who attend that we don't know how to contact. If you would like to donate, our PayPal is blackvoiceletchworth@gmail.com, and our fundraiser is at www.blackvoiceletchworth.com. But this information will also be in the chat. BVL now has services ready to order, including Princess Tea, the one-woman Black History Show, the one-drop rule, adult dance classes, and event entertainment. We also have free services available, so please do check our social media to get involved. I'm now happy to hand over to Glenn Russell. Goodbye, and thank you everyone who attended and contributed, who's attending and contributing today. Special thank you to our speaker and monitors. Black Voice Letchworth is committed to action. So if you have been delegated an action for today, please do follow through. The minutes and recordings of this meeting will be sent to you, provided we have your email. We look forward to seeing you at the next meeting. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.
Good evening. Therapy work in the Black community. It's difficult to know where to start. I think that it's, in essence, how exposed would you say that therapy work is in the Black community, in that around alternative medicine and actually knowing where to find alternative medicine, alternative therapy, and whether or not you're going to encounter any prejudices when you make contact or turn up. I think that for me, I would say at the moment that my clientele is predominantly white rather than mix, in terms of having equal amounts of clients from the Black Asian community. And whether or not it's because as a culture, we haven't fully embraced that yet, I don't know. And that'll be a question that I put out to everyone else. And equally, how much is known about hypnotherapy and the benefits that you can derive from the use of such. So, for instance, hypnotherapy is used to help individuals to better their day-to-day lives, in that it can be used for pain management, it can be used for the ones that a lot of people know about, stop smoking, weight release. It is used to help individuals around low self-esteem, low self-confidence, tremors, habits, so phobias, fear of flying, fear of enclosed spaces, and the list is quite long in terms of the different afflictions that hypnotherapy can be used to help individuals. So I think one of the reasons for me to come on here tonight is to spread the word, to make members of our community aware that there is an alternative option for you, and therefore that we don't have to continually be going down the same road in terms of banging our heads and not achieving any results, and waiting for the NHS, which is currently extremely overworked. And in terms of mental health, they are so behind, given the last 2 years that we've all experienced due to the pandemic and all of those anxieties that has brought up within our young children. So that's a broad overview of hypnotherapy and in terms of mental health. We also run, and I mentioned anxiety, I'm an anxiety coach, and we run a program called the Still Method. And the Still Method has 5 individual elements, and it's a 6-week after school or within school club. And what the Still Method stands for is stop, talk, imagine, listen, and learn. Each of the 5 weeks, we break down each of those. So for argument's sake, the first week, what we're looking to do is to empower our young people to learn that they have the ability and the power to stop the way that they're feeling at that particular time. And it is a step-by-step approach to reducing anxiety and raising self-esteem. And what we've found in the last 10 years, well, it's last 12 years now, that there's been a huge increase in the number of children and young people who are experiencing high levels of anxiety. And at the same time, the advice given to schools and parents is often conflicting and confusing. So they'll go to one place and they'll be told, don't do this or to do that. They go to somewhere else. And again, they're told a different element. What we do and it's not teach, is where we help young people to understand those elements, is to provide them with the tools to deal with difficult feelings, fears, and phobic thoughts. So at the end of it, what we're looking to do is empower those young people to know that they are able to control their anxieties attacks rather than allowing it to control them. They are able to take steps to overcome their anxieties rather than being holden to them, so that they're then preventing them from doing certain things in life. And that's a small element. So in terms of, if I just go on to explain what hypnosis is, hypnosis really equals relaxation and imagination. So it's about getting you into a relaxed state. And I would imagine that everyone on this call has at some time got into a nice hot bath and then just allow themselves to totally disengage with what's going on consciously. And because it's nice and warm, there's the steam coming out, you may have some radox or something else in the bath, and your muscles are starting to relax and you drift off. And it's not that you're falling asleep, but you're allowing your imagination to take control. And that's what we try to recapture during hypnosis. We get the client into a relaxed place, and then we get them to start to use their imagination. And if we also think about our minds, so our conscious mind, and that's the mind that you're using at the moment, listening to me, and you're wondering, you know, is what he's saying a load of baloney, or does it make sense? What does he mean by that? So at this moment in time, you're all using your logical, analytical mind. Willpower sits in that part, planning and decision making. So every morning when you get up, that's your conscious mind getting you up, and you're then going through your day. Our subconscious mind, which when you speak to people, a lot of people don't realize that we actually have a subconscious mind, but in there houses our emotions, our habits, our memories, our imaginations, our dreams, and our survival instincts. And it's our survival instincts that when we're asleep, our subconscious mind remembers to ensure that our heart is still pumping, that blood is flowing around our veins, and also tells us when we're hungry, tells us when we need to go to the toilet. Our muscle memory is housed in our subconscious mind. When we learn to walk, when we learn to drive, to talk, our reflex actions and our physiological functions are built in there as well. But our subconscious mind encompasses 90% of our mind. And willpower sits in our conscious mind, which is only 10%. And that's why we find it extremely difficult when we want to stop doing something purely by saying, right, I'm going to stop. I'm going to go on a diet. I'm going to stop smoking. I'm going to stop drinking. All of that is contained with the 10% of our mind. But if you remember, all of those things that I've just said are built up over a period of time, and they're in our habits. So every time we take a drink, we're reinforcing to ourselves that it's important. Every time we do that, we're saying, yep, I like doing this and it's good for me. So therefore, when you come to try to stop, no wonder so many people are unable to do that. And that's where hypnotherapy comes in, because we're able to get, whilst you're relaxed, in a relaxed state, we're able to interact with your subconscious mind and then get your subconscious mind to agree to a more productive, to a better job than the one that they're doing in terms of smoking, overeating, drinking. And that's the beauty about hypnosis, is that there is very little that we cannot help individuals with. So I had a client today, an 82-year-old client who suffers with tremors. And this is our second session, and already she can see a marked decrease in her tremors, to the extent whereby last week she was able to go to the shops. She was able to do such a small task as standing in the shop and opening her purse to pay for some goods, whereas previously her tremors were so severe she couldn't do that because the contents of her purse would end up on the floor. So that's just a brief overview of hypnosis and what we can help individuals with. Any questions? Looks like I'm going to get off lightly, Michaela.
Oh, I don't know. Hang on, wait.
Any questions?
Yeah, I was waiting for me to speak. I was following instructions. That is very powerful. That what that 10% that holds all that emotion. That is very powerful.
90%.
Oh, sorry, 90%.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought it was 10%. But it holds a lot, and it controls a lot.
But the best way to describe our subconscious mind is, it is the gatekeeper of everything. It stores. And I think one of the best ways, if you can remember back in the day, you'd see on a film, someone will have a Rolodex, as I call it. You know, the cards that would flip round and they'd get contact details off of them. So if you can imagine that everything that you've ever seen, every smell, every taste, every sound, everything is stored in your subconscious mind. And a lot of times we get deja vu. We go somewhere and we think, oh, we've been here before, and we can't consciously remember. And that's because at some point you've been there, but it's been so long ago that it's stored away. And in order to help individuals reframe their thinking, we have to reboot their computer, which is their subconscious mind. So we have to go back in and reprogram it, because what you learn at 5, your subconscious mind will continue to make you do that and believe that until the day that you die. So at 5, it was doing a great job in terms of protecting you. But as you get older, that phobia or that habit is now non-productive. It's having a negative impact. But because our subconscious mind doesn't see time, it still thinks that it's doing what's best for you. And that's why you'll get some people who are afraid of dogs, but they don't know why they're afraid of dogs. And that's because something's happened previously, and the emotions that interaction with the dog calls them, their subconscious mind said, whoa, I don't like the way that's making Glenn feel. So I know, so that it never happens again, I'll make him afraid of dogs so he never goes anywhere near it. So he won't experience those feelings anymore. And as I said, that's all right when you're 3, 4, or 5. But when you get to an adult and your children are pestering you because they want a dog, their friends have got dogs, and you'll say, no, I don't like dogs, but you don't know why. So I had a 50-year-old woman from our community who was exactly that, didn't know why. She agreed to allow her teenage children to get a dog, and she was petrified of coming down in the mornings and the dog jumping at her. So she came to see me, and we went back, took her back, it's called regression therapy, went back to when she was 6, and she was explaining to me whilst hypnotized her interaction with a dog at her childminders, and her sister was petrified of dogs, so never actually took her to the front door. And in her mind, she was convinced that she'd been bitten. However, on the therapy, she realized that actually she was never left alone with the dog, and she was never bitten. So through that session, she left my offices and went out because she'd ordered a dog and sent me a picture. So on my website, you can see her holding her puppy. And in 2 sessions, phobia of dogs went.
That's very powerful. Very powerful indeed. You can retrain the mind.
Yes, yeah. And that in itself is what hypnosis is. It's recalibrating your subconscious mind to understand that, yes, the work that you were doing, we're thanking you for that job. However, it's having a detrimental impact on this person. We now look to change it and give you some new positive jobs to do.
That's very good. That's very brilliant work. So how many from the BME community do you have? How many clients?
1, 2. I think I've had about 4 in nearly 2 years. So again, an extremely small percentage of my total client base.
Why do you think that is?
I think it could be down to knowledge.
Yeah, true.
Not fully aware of the benefits of hypnotherapy. It could be because being afraid in terms of something that we don't understand. And equally, hypnotherapy has been around for hundreds of years. You know, you can go back to the pharaohs. They had hypnotherapists back then. But also I think that we see the Darren Browns, we see the stage hypnotists, and we think, well, I'm not going to go and see someone like that because I don't want them to get me to do things that I don't want to do. But what they don't understand is that I can't get you to do anything that you don't want to do. I'm not in control of you. You hear everything. You may not fully be able to discern what I'm saying, but you hear, you're in control. Should something happen and you have to attend to an emergency, just like that, you're back out. So the client's in control. The client is there because they want to be there. And all of these individuals that they see on stage, they are doing what they would normally do on a night out. What we, Joe Public, don't see is the vetting period the hypnotist takes them through to see how susceptible they are to being hypnotized. So we never see the ones that they can't do that because it's not in their nature to behave that way. And you know, if you think about it, why do audience go to those shows, and why do we watch those shows? Because we want to see people making a fool of themselves. And I think that's a stigma as well in terms of in the Black community.
It is. It's sometimes viewed as a failure.
Yeah. Rather than actually, you're in control. It's you being proactive, recognizing that there's something that's preventing me living my life to the full, and I have the ability to go and change that. And as my slogan says, you know, making tomorrow better than yesterday. And I live by that. I derive great pleasure from seeing a client that comes into me that has an issue and has a goal. And when they leave, or over a number of sessions, they're achieving that goal.
Very good, very powerful. Thank you, Glenn. Thank you.
No worries.
And yes, I've had hypnotherapy.
There you go. Did it work?
Yes, it did. It did.
There you go.
It
is very, very powerful.
It is. I've had a lot of alternative therapies, and I do believe in it. And
we've not grasped, certainly as a community, how powerful this is. You know, there's a saying, isn't it? What man tells himself all day, man becomes.
Yes.
So if you're having negative thoughts and negative self-talks, eventually that's what you're going to become. So if it works in that sense, why don't we believe it will work in reverse? So if I'm a positive person, then my outlook is going to be positive.
Do you find, Glenn, if we can jump in, then we've got Sonia and Sam, but I think we've got a bit more time today. I just want to ask, do you find that though in the Black community, with those who are faith-based, primarily maybe from the Christian community, they are maybe just reluctant to come forward towards hypnotherapy? What would you say to someone who had those reservations?
If your faith is strong enough and you truly believe that the Almighty can heal, then why wouldn't you believe that an individual who's an instrument of that can't help you to achieve that goal? Right. Because I am and hypnotherapists in general are not trying to get you to do anything that you don't want to do. What we're trying to get you to do is to use this with our skill to make yourself better, to better improve your daily life.
Is there, or do you think that this is a kind of preconception that I've heard in my church, for example, I know nothing about hypnotherapy other than the media frenzy of it, getting people to hop on one leg as a chicken and all of that stuff. But I've heard with conversations with people within my church that, you can't do hypnotherapy. And I was like, I never heard that one. So my ear perks up, and I have heard the reservation of the suggestiveness. Someone can suggest to you things that you wouldn't normally do. So because you're very open, and because you're open, I think the comment was, you're not just open physically, or mentally, you're also open potentially spiritually, and that can have some effects. Have you heard that? I've only heard it once.
No, I've never heard that. But what I would say to counter that is, at the very start of my talk, I made it clear that a hypnotherapist cannot make anyone do anything they don't want to do. Because what will happen is that if I start to try to put suggestions in onto someone, and their nature was opposed to that, their subconscious mind will shut it down. Their subconscious mind isn't going to accept that, because what the only thing, and our oath is around well-being. It's around making the person, helping that person to get better. It's around positive suggestions. It's not negative, because all that will happen is that the subconscious mind would say, hang on a second, why? So I'm doing this. Now you're saying that you want me to do something worse. No, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, because I don't believe that's to the benefit of me, as in the person.
Right, right.
So all of our suggestions is completely around helping the client to achieve a better life.
Is it possible for hypnotherapists to basically reprogram the brain to give it, certain suggestions? Is that a possibility, or is it something that's completely media?
So long as the suggestions are positive and for the benefit of the client.
Right.
So the pre-talk that you will have is that you go through, so the client explains to you why they're here. And then one of the things that we say, once we've got the client into a nice relaxed state, is we ask their subconscious mind, are they happy that Joe Bloggs has come here to see me today for this problem? And are they willing to help? And do they understand that I'm here to help Joe Bloggs with this problem? So you're asking the subconscious mind because you want the subconscious mind to buy into that. If the subconscious mind turns around and says no, there is no power on earth that's going to get you to be able to provide any suggestions to that person, because it'll just shut down. And so I do hypnogastric baton surgery, and again, that's all up here. But again, we ask the subconscious mind, does it believe that Joe Bloggs, if they do all of these things, would lose weight? Now, if subconscious mind says no, then we have to find out, well, what else does the person need to do to lose weight? Because consciously you're telling me all of these things that you're going to do. I don't know you, so I'm taking what you're telling me on face value. But then under hypnosis, I ask your subconscious mind the same questions. And if your subconscious mind says to me, no, there is no point me proceeding, I then need to bring that person round, back up, and then ask them, right, what else you can do? Because your subconscious mind is telling me that you're not going to do this, or if you do these, you're not going to achieve your goal. So if that's the case, there's no point us proceeding, because you'll be wasting your money. And my reputation is, I'd rather say to you, you know what, thank you. But when you're ready, truly ready to release weight, come back and see me. And it's the same with my stop smoking clients. I will have sat here, gone through the pre-talk, and the pre-talk can take up to an hour. And at the end of it, I ask them 2 questions that they answer in their silently in their mind. Are they ready to become a non-smoker today? And are they ready to stop? And if either of those is no, I say to them, you know what, thank you very much, but come back and see me when you are truly ready to give up.
Right, I have to move on to Sam now. I've got more questions, but I'll move on to Sam. Sam, sorry,
Yeah.
we're 10 minutes, but we really got into it with Glenn, and got more to come back, I'm sure. Sam, let's just welcome Sam McKenday again to the stage to talk to us, to follow up on respect in the African community. So away you go, Sam.
Okay, thank you. I mean, when we talk of Africa, I mean, Africa is a continent, and we need to really be careful with that, because I mean, I only know about the Yoruba part of Nigeria even, and Yoruba cuts across Dahomey, which is Republic of Benin, and then cuts across southern part of Ghana. You have Yoruba there, even up to Liberia, you still have Yoruba there. But, and also, if I mean, I'm very sure that you know of Cuba, they have Yoruba there. And also you know of Brazil, that even Yoruba in Brazil is almost competing with the Yorubas in Nigeria. So that
you've forgotten one place.
Barbados.
No. I know. It's not Barbados.
It's
a whole island of Yorubas.
Yeah, I don't know where it is.
Sam, you must know the island.
I know, because you said I heard. Yes, Sam.
Okay. I agree.
Ghana.
No, I've told you Ghana.
Oh,
Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, and Jamaica too.
And
Don't forget Jamaica.
Trinidad. You have it in Trinidad.
And Jamaica, the Yoruba.
And Jamaica too.
Yes.
Okay,
yeah,
I didn't know of Jamaica.
We have, and I only found this out probably in the last 4 years, because my grandmother used to say certain words, because we have Sonia will know, Patois. Yeah.
Patois,
so there's certain words that are mixed with the African words and mixed French and all sorts. But one word, my friend from Nigeria, one word I said to her, and she was like, "Oh, that's Nigerian word. That means this." So for example, in black magic in Trinidad is obia. You've heard obia, right?
Same here.
Obia. Yeah. Obia, she said to me, that is a Nigerian word for obviously.
Mm-hmm.
We know. Have you heard that, Glenn? Do you know what obia is?
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's black magic, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, my brother-in-law is Nigerian.
My auntie's Nigerian.
And we
Is it? Oh.
We went to.
Yeah.
My sister got married in Nigeria.
Okay.
So I was there. It was very good.
And Sam asked, which part of Nigeria is your brother-in-law from?
Right. I'll come back to you. I got to think about that.
Yeah, I mean, if you just think of the town or the village around the main town that you went to, then I could tell you the part. Okay, so that when we talk of respect, the way the Yorubas learn respect is really what I will be talking about. And because it's quite different, and that is even changing with technology and all the things that are going there. So that, I mean, and to me, is something that they will lose if we do not really promote it more. I mean, there are so many people now that are promoting Yoruba language, but really it's not just the language. You need a culture to go with the language. So that, I mean, so some part of the education that some people grow up with is now missing that cultural element. And cultural element is really important if we are to retain our identity. And so that to me, is what we need to be promoting is what we need to know more about, and it's what we really need to even research more about. Because the more we research, then the more we will find. But if we just are lazy and we are not researching it, we are going to lose so many things. I mean, when I went to Cuba 2 years ago, some people were doing Orisha. And then I told them that when I gave them all the details of Orisha, they were wondering, they said, why is it that I'm doing some things? I said, no, if you know the sort of the like is the if you are in the inner circle of Nigeria, of Yoruba culture, you will find that you will automatically be living that life without anybody sort of saying this is the way, that's the way, because you are born into it. So that when we talk of respect, it's more of that. Because I mean, nobody told me to prostrate for my dad, all right? But you will find that I started prostrating for my dad when I saw my brothers, when I saw my sisters, when I saw them doing some things without being even, nobody is forcing them to do it. And as such, we grew up more or less in the, it's like when you embed something into a situation, I mean, it's like when you embed a file into your email. I mean, that's more or less what it is, that then you carry it with you wherever you go. So that, and that's really what it is like. So that when I was growing up, like saying good morning to people, which is sort of, I do not know where that is, why some cultures do not do that. That is even to say hello to one another. It's as if you are forcing their mouth to open to speak. And to me, it shouldn't be like that. It's a mark of respect when you see another person passing you or you are passing them and you just say, hello, how are you? And then you walk away. I mean, you do not need to know all their problems. It's not their problems that makes people to greet one another. It's just part of a community. And in part of a community, you need to communicate with one another. And I mean, when you look the way the Yoruba build their houses, possibly says a lot. We build it in circles, okay? And I mean, which then means like it's like a continuation when you build in circles, because my circle goes into your own circle, goes into other person's circles, and become like a big compound. Because we still live in compound in Nigeria, I'm afraid, especially in the Yoruba part. And your compound, your uncle, your auntie are all living just next door type of a situation. And partly why, when I said it was changing, to me, it's partly because people now have traveled away from that type of community. They've moved into the urban area. And when they move into the urban area, it's just like London, where people do not know what is going on, even with their next door neighbor. Okay, so that because they hardly even greet one another, they just pass one another in the lift and that's it. And no good morning, nothing. So that to me is what we need to develop as a community. So that if I have the power, I will really like to research more into what is going on and what is it that we could do to keep it going. Because to me, it made me feel supported to be living in that type of family And I'm not, I mean, I do not know much of Caribbean, but in Cuba, when I went there, they seem to still be living like that. You'll find their granddad, their grandma in the same building, and then their son has built on top of the building, so that they are more or less living in the same complex. I mean, I didn't sort of ask many people, but they seem to be, I mean, when it's theirs is what they say every time that you pass them on the road, even the people that you do not know. Whereas in Yoruba land, that seems to be disappearing. But I would like to know more of how to really bring it about, and possibly is creating a forum like this where people are able to talk more about it and able to really see what is going on. Then when you talk of, I mean, like respect is not just from a child to adult. It's even between adults to adults that you have respect. And some of those are disappearing too, which to me is really a problem, because when that type of things disappear, then it means that we're just living solitary life. And by living solitary life, you are not really building together, if you get what I mean. I saw a tree that really fascinated me. I was really fascinated by the tree. That it was a tree, but then there's a tree, the root joins into that tree, and then the root of the other one joins into the other tree, and then joins into the other tree, so that it's not just a tree, but a cluster of trees. And how I wish we Yorubas will continue to live. Like when we were in the 50s, it was like that. 1950s, 1960s. But we became independent. We started to develop the cities rather than the villages. And I think that we lost some things through that we were developing sort of like Ibadan, like Lagos, like Abeokuta, and places like that. And we lost most of the things from the villages. So that it's only poor people that seems to remain in their village, whereas all the middle class people have moved out. And to me, I would like to live back in the village, because I really enjoy the village life. It's calmer. I mean, everything seems, not that it's simple because you have to work hard at it, but to me, I would like to live in villages rather than in the cities, so that when we talk of respect, we need to respect even our land. We seem to not be respecting our land like we used to. And the respect that our people used to give to the land, it made the land to yield more for them. Because I mean, I could remember that when my auntie, I mean my sisters, when we went to the farm, you will see their yam without, and they didn't make any sort of big thing, like months in order to plant the yam, but the yam was able to dig the soil itself, because they just put the shoot of the yam into the soil, and then the yam grows into the soil by itself, and without much digging. And it's because people were respecting it then. But now we seem to be plowing our land, and it's not really yielding big harvest for us. So to me, it's something that we really need to think about. So that then when we talk of, and I mean, for example, like the husband is seen as Olowo Orire. Olowo Orire means the person that paid your dowry. And as such, the wife comes in the morning and sort of greets the husband. And to me, in my family, we possibly we broke the taboo of that. my mom will greet my dad, but not in terms of sort of kneeling and doing things and all the things. But, and I think that I grew up from that we respect both men and women, not just putting the women down. Because when I've looked in some sort of cultures around Nigeria, the way that, I mean, the wife seems to be the only one doing everything in the kitchen, or the girls, let me put it that way, the girls and the woman of the house. Whereas in my family, I was in the kitchen doing stirring, pounding, doing different type of things with my mom, because my mom wasn't educated. She passed away in 2008, and she was 101 when she passed away. Okay, so that it's not that she was educated, but she, I mean, to me, she was a visionary. And same thing with my dad, because my dad formed the union in Oshogbo of mechanics. And why did they do that? When the British station was there, they were bringing their vehicles to his garage to repair. And what they then did, because my dad said, why don't you employ me and give me sort of like monthly salary? They refused. They said, you can't speak English. I mean, because he couldn't speak English, so they didn't give him the job. So then my dad then also told all the mechanics, if they bring your car, do not repair them, because he was the one that trained all the mechanics in Oshogbo. So he told them not to repair their cars, so that they were then forced to be bringing, and then he then hyped the prices with them, because you are not employing me, I'm not having a steady income. So he decided to put the prices up also. So they were forced to pay that. So that, and to me, is, I think the coming of the Europeans sort of contributed to some of the losses. But to me, is the town, is our developing cities, instead of sort of building everybody together. So I would like to hear what the Caribbean was, the Jamaican one.
I just want to say, Sam, I broke the mold because I'm the Jamaican who doesn't like the kitchen. That's the last place you'll find me. Just need to tell you that. I'm going to talk about the Caribbean respect from the Jamaican island, because we all know there are many islands within the Caribbean. So I'm going to narrow my respect down to Jamaica and to an island where my parents, my forebears were brought up, and there is a Nigerian element to my upbringing. So I'm going to start off, and I'm going to read it from a script. I do apologize. Respect is also called self-esteem. It is a positive feeling or action shown towards someone or something considered important, held in high esteem or regard. It conveys a sense of admiration for good or valuable qualities. In the Caribbean, they believe it takes a village to raise a child. It is an unwritten rule. This unwritten rule that governed your everyday life. Respect was at the forefront of everything and everything you did in your everyday life. Respect is shared values and norms. This was taught from a very, very, very early age, an unwritten rule that everyone followed. You broke it at your own peril. Friends of your parents were referred to as uncle or auntie, never by their first name. You'd be a very brave person or stupid to have called them by their first name. You respected others because you respected yourself. Children were often seen but never heard. As a child, you never involved yourself in an adult conversation because that was taboo. You just knew this unwritten rule. The adults were talking, you pulled yourself away because you should never add your 4 pennies worth because you would get the look. And we all knew what the look meant. My mother, my aunts, my uncles just turned and looked at you. They didn't have to say anything because you were an interpreter. You knew what that look meant. You wound your neck in, shut up. And if you were brave, you ran away because if they caught you, you would know. This unwritten rule was never broken. Respect was your mother, your aunt. They, as I said before, they had the look. You always knew what this look meant. I learned to my peril because I referred to one of my aunts by her name. And this in the days before mobile phones. She told my mother, and as I walked in the front door, my mother was there waiting for me. I got my just reward, and then I had to go after my mother had words with me back to my aunt to apologize for referring to her by her name. And then also when we talk about respect, I remember growing up as a child, we never looked at adults in the eyes. That was respect because we were not their equal. When we talked to them, we referred to them auntie or uncle, but we never looked them in the eye. I never knew the reason why about this, but again, it was never a rule that I was brave enough to challenge. Respect was how you spoke to an adult, how you behaved at school, church, your everyday life. That was very important because how you behaved at school and church were two total different entities, because you knew when you went to church, your mother, auntie, and your community would be there. And it would be frowned upon if you played up. It would be a disrespect. And you will always want to be respectful to all your elders. Respect is you never saw a person in need and you never offered. You always offered your help, even if it was a smile. And I remember going to a funeral very recently, and the women just got an apron, washed their hands, got an apron, and they helped in the kitchen. Again, this is respect, because you weren't asked, you just knew what to do. The men did the bar. Why was that? But they, again, unwritten rule, we knew what we all had to do. And I remember growing up as a child, when somebody passed on, there was a group of ladies whose job, and they were respected in the community, whose job was to prepare the person for the next life. They washed and dressed that person the night before the funeral, and they were respected because they were the ones everybody in the community looked up to. Okay, and that is again very similar to our Nigerian forebearers, you know, because in the days of the 50s and 60s, people wore white, they wrapped their head. It's again a sign of respect. You cover your hair. People don't do that now. And I always think to myself, what's happened? We've got technology. We have all this information and we have lost so much. We have lost so much. We have all these children who you daren't say anything to, because if you did, you'd be in trouble. And, you know, and we know what the repercussions are. And have we learned anything? Have we come forward? I say not, because the values I learned in the 50s and 60s in the 20,000 aren't here. We have children who are emotionless. They're like robots. We have created robots, because if the computer doesn't say yes, they don't do. They have no sense of value and no respect. And I'm thinking, when has this happened? Because I realized the family dynamics have changed. People no longer live close by. I knew my relations, I knew my aunties, I knew my uncles, I knew my cousins, but we all live separate lives now. We get together at weddings and at funerals. And sometimes not even that, could people send a card. And I look at this word respect and I think, how has it affected my life? Because I still have the old ways, you know, and I have brought it into my children, right? But they know, but some of their friends do not. And I just find it hard for me. It's at certain family events and you think, what's happened? Why is that child doing that? You know, because I knew when I was their age, that would never have been happening. And you're talking to an adult and this child is giving their 4 pennies worth. I know that there's freedom of speech, but that sometimes children need to shut up, because this conversation does not include them. You know, I'm sorry, Sam, but it is. And I'm just thinking, you've got a 10-year-old telling you they're 4 pennies worth, and I'm at the other side of 21, and I just have to look, pardon. And I remember when I was their age, I would never have done that. I may have been stupid, but I was not, as my mother would say, mad, because I knew what the repercussions would be. And I go back to the word, it takes a village to raise a child. And so perhaps we need to bring that village mentality back to our community, because that seems to have been lost. Thank you. You're on mute.
Thank you for that, Sonia, because when I look back, I mean, all those are there, there's no written book about it, yet it was learned without anybody forcing one another to learn it. Because, I mean, like you are talking about, not just about even the living, the way that we even treat, that the dead people were treated, or those people who have passed away.
Yeah.
We didn't, there's the respect that it's as if they're still living. Because in the 1950s and 60s, people were buried even in their own bedroom. Okay, because they believe that they are still part of the family. I mean, there is no this far away burial ground where they take people to, so that you bury people in your own sort of family land. So that when we look at it, sometimes I think, like you are saying, we've lost it, and we've lost it because of some of the encroachment from the culture that lacks what we had. And because the culture seems sophisticated, because they were wearing ties and they were wearing suits, then we seem to have bought into that, and we've left some of the things. I mean, like my children, they are now 40s. I mean, none of them will dare even raise any voice at me or do anything, because I do not need to cane them. I didn't cane them. It's just me sort of just
the look.
Yeah. And as such, that is there, and we instill it in our children. And to me, that is an element to me that is missing when I've been home. And because I just like looking at people and the way people interact with one another without saying a word. And people seem to have lost some of the things that we even are able to keep here in Britain. And to me, it's a loss, and it's a loss that we will never regain back again. And that's why I was saying that I would like to research more to really find out what is it that is happening to our culture.
Yeah.
Yes, Glenn.
We've got a question from Glenn. If you're,
So I didn't see that. Sorry.
No, that's fine, Sonia. No, as I put in the chat, that it was very well said and needed to be said. And earlier on, I typed in there. It's fundamentally, I believe that respect is. We've got a generation within our culture now that are starting to believe that they are owed something.
Yes.
That because of our struggles, and I put that in inverted commas, I'm owed. I don't need to go and do this. I don't need to do this. I don't need to speak to you in a certain way. And your question is so valid in, when did that change? When did we get past the look?
Yeah.
When did we get past auntie, uncle, Mr., Mrs., and respecting our elders unconditionally?
Yes.
Because as you said, back in the day, there were no mobile phones. Very few West Indian houses had phones. However, the incident that you described with your auntie and how quickly that got back to your mum.
Yeah. I
and
knew.
she was waiting at the front door.
Yep.
She was.
And I, of a 60s baby, let's put it that way, can recount so many tales of exactly the same, where I've done something outside, not seen that someone has seen me, but by the time I got home, I knew.
Yeah.
And there was 2 words, well, 3, wait till your father come home, that's 4.
Yeah. Come here.
Or
Yeah.
if mum was in the kitchen, heaven help me.
True.
Because it was whatever came to hand was coming my way.
Yes. Yes.
So therefore,
and they didn't kill you.
I'm here.
No.
And those lessons live with me to this day. And I've inherited the look from my mum. And my daughters will contest to that they know when it's time to, without saying. But going back to my question, when did that transition happen?
I know. It just seems to have happened, just fallen upon us. And I can't tell you when it happened.
But as a community, isn't it incumbent on us
It is.
to try our hardest to get that back?
We must.
Before we get to a stage whereby our young people find themselves in trouble because of this.
Yeah.
And because of the respect.
We need to reclaim respect.
Yeah. Jordan put a statement there that I do not think is scary, because they will just turn their face like this and look. It's not frightening, but I knew what my mom or my dad was saying. And they're not shouting, they're sort of turning towards me, and already I know that I just need to cut it out there.
Yeah. I had an auntie who would clock, and then when she clocked, you better duck. You had to duck because you knew whatever was in her hand was coming your way. And
Sonia,
yeah.
To this day, and I'm going to be 60 next year, I have never uttered a bad word in front of my parents.
I would never.
I've never raised my voice to my parents. And my parents are in their 80s.
Glenn,
and even now,
yes,
my mom would box me.
That was my
Even
mother,
that.
so it would be easy.
They will wash it with soap for you.
There's a saying in Trinidad when
Yeah.
someone when a parent is like a parent, another parent will say, "Oh, your child's so well behaved. You know, they did something well." The response is not, "Oh, yes, we, you know, as you no, we just say that is my foot."
What does that mean? Go on.
It means basically that is my foot. It means that is my hand on my you know, my foot.
It's
You
on
know,
you.
my foot under
yeah.
my heel.
Yeah.
So my grandma used to say that you know, you know, obviously being a very traditional family, the man is the head. So she would say, you know, a man has to have, you know, his foot on everything, you know. And the woman has to be the neck to turn it around where she knows.
Yeah.
But it's basically, you know, having control, you know, making sure that that you as a parent have, you know, teach your child what you're talking about today, you know, the respect and everything. I found obviously my son is English, Scottish, and Caribbean Trinidadian, and I think for him growing up is very difficult because when he's around my family, growing up in England, obviously England has its own culture, how respect is practiced by most children isn't the same. So
No.
for example, when I say to him, when adults are speaking, you don't talk. If they say something to you, even if they're in the wrong, you don't talk back. Okay, you let the adults speak. And when adults are talking, you don't come and say, "Oh yeah, I heard that." No, you don't do that. But when he goes to his English family, that would happen quite, you know, "Oh no, he can do that, he's fine." But I had to, it comes because he's a boy, and I say this because when boys are, you know, different than girls, they do develop quite differently and want to do different things. And my son is very boisterous from my side. You know, he wants to do what he wants to do when he wants to do it. I had to choose the Caribbean way. So whether we go into an English household or a Caribbean household, I expect him to stand and stand in that is my foot. That is my foot. So yeah. So if one of my English friends say to me, "Oh, he's so, you know, he was so respectful," I said, "Yes, well, he better be." You know, I think that's just how I'm raised. That's how I was raised. You know, I was raised majority by my grandmother, and very much in that family mentality. So all the aunts and uncles, it was like 14 aunts and uncles. It was a huge family. So yeah, completely get everything that you've just said is exactly how it is. However, I have struggled, obviously, coming here when I was very young, still having that, being raised in that, but living in English culture and having to maneuver a child living in that environment. So I've stopped doing. I used to do. Oh, when you're at grandma's with daddy's parents, you can do this, and when you're with my family, you can do this, because it was just causing him. It was causing him conflict.
Confusion.
Yeah, confusion, because he couldn't understand, and then he was arguing with me. "Mummy, it's just too much for me." So I said, "Okay, fine. This is what you have to do with everybody. Okay, just with everybody. And if your English friends ask why you do that, that's how we do it in our household. Just say your mother. Put it on me. Say your mother is from the Caribbean. That's how we do things. End of."
Yeah.
So Michaela,
Yes.
sorry, Sonia.
No. So
Going back to what you were saying there, and it happens with my 12-year-old daughter as well. You'll get people will compliment her on how nice and how well behaved, how well spoken she is. Why is that? Why does that behavior deserve someone to comment, even though it's positively commented on? For me, that then says, well, actually, you're not used to your child or other people's children behaving as they should. Because otherwise you wouldn't feel the need to tell another mum how well her son or daughter's behaved.
That's a great point. And I know it's been glazed over so many years, but none of my other friends get it's great for your child to get a compliment. It's obviously wonderful. But my other friends, mummy friends who are white, they never get that compliment ever. I'm the only one that gets the compliment. Oh, he's so well behaved and well spoken. Oh, he's doing so well. It's always about what he's doing, how he's doing it, how he's speaking. It's never, oh, he's such a nice boy, isn't he? You know, it's almost as if like they have done their own kind of, oh, I know what they were expecting. I know stereotypically a boy in a hoodie with, I don't know, you know, a spliff in his mouth or something. I don't know what they're expecting. He's just a normal boy like any other child. So, but I just get overly complimented with him. And to me, he's just normal. I mean, if you like him, I've got 50,000 other cousins in the Caribbean who are just even more. I mean, some of my, I couldn't believe, I realized my age when I went back home, and some of my cousins who are younger than me did a little bow, auntie, because I'm like, auntie who? And then my cousins had to remind me of my age.
Yeah.
Because I'm still thinking I'm in my teens.
We've become that generation now.
Yeah. But my upbringing is very different to most in my age group. I was raised predominantly by my grandmother, so a lot of the traditions that I kind of want to keep and teach my son is very different to others. I think most mums I meet who are Black are either second generation or third, fourth, etc., and have a connection, obviously. But they don't really know that, like, some of the intricate stuff, which is also kind of a barrier. But yeah, that's my that is my foot, means that is me. It's me behind everything. So I don't know if it's the same in Jamaica.
It is.
Same.
There was something when you have newborn babies that I continued. I didn't ask the reason why. Do you remember Beckett and Coleman used to do that washing blue for white clothes?
Yes.
Right. Well, what you used to do is wash the newborn babies in that. Shall I tell you the reason why? You're all looking at me. You all know it's to protect them from duppy. You all know.
Yeah.
You all know. Don't be looking at me. You all know. You all know. You've all been brought up the same way. I did the same thing. I was sent the little blue bag, and I did. I made sure because because that's respect.
Yeah.
It was respect. It was the old ways. My parents taught me, and I continued. And when I had my grandchildren, yes, Grandma did the same thing.
Yes. And the thing you said, Sonia, about washing dishes, when you go to someone's house, the English way is just to sit there, don't touch anything, don't. No. But that's rude. That's rude.
That is rude.
That's rude. You know, at least ask. My mum always told us, at least ask your auntie. Auntie, do you need help with anything? Don't just sit there and just. Oh, and the other thing is, don't come with your hands swinging.
That's right, your empty hand.
Empty hands.
Your hands swinging.
Don't come with your empty hand.
If you're invited to someone's house, take your shoes off first of all.
Okay?
If they say, but take your shoes off and don't come with your hands swinging. Even if it's something you could make. My grandma said, we're not rich, but you know how to. I've taught you how to do things. Make a little something to hand to the head of the house, which would be the woman.
True. Yes.
And you'll hand her something. Just something, so you're not just showing up at people's house and sitting there and eating their food and
even with your belly full.
That's true. And even if you bake something, you didn't walk with your empty hand.
Yes. You at least bring something. And I noticed that my Nigerian friend, when she invited me to her house, I came with my hands swinging. Yes, I did.
Same.
And every other Black woman came with something in the hand, and it was shame. You know, Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Shame.
But you won't do it again, though, Michaela.
Never. never, never, never. And it reminded me, and this is a conflict, you see. I came here when I was young, and I know what to do, but because when you grow up in school and I started to do those things, I was picked on.
Different. Yeah.
I was picked on, you see. So some of the things regressed. But now that I have my son and I'm seeing, I'm like, why is he behaving like? It's because I'm not teaching it, because I stopped practicing it because I was picked on so badly at school for practicing it. Oh, why are you saying sir? You don't need to say sir, just call her by her first name. Go on. Why did it? And to fit in, I dropped those things. That I think that, you know, when you're asking the question, where did that go? I think surroundings, environment.
Survival.
Yeah. And you just survive and you drop that. But now I'm like, you know what? Those things made me who I am today.
Exactly.
If it wasn't for those fundamentals, you know.
And it's interesting. It's interesting, Michaela, that you mentioned the sir and the miss and misses. It's something that was drummed into us as children. So at school, it was always Mrs., Miss, Mr., Sir. And then when I started working, it was exactly the same. And even when I had elevated myself to being in control, in charge of thousands of post persons, every morning when I got to work, I would walk around the sorting office floor and I would say good morning to every single person. And it would be, good morning, Mr. So-and-so.
Yeah.
Yep.
And some of them would say, but Gov, you don't have to call me Mr. My name is X. That's fine. You've now given me permission to call you by your first name.
Right.
I am not going to assume that because I'm in charge that I have the right to address you that way.
Yep.
And they all used to look at me and say, why do you call me Mr.? And when I explain it to them, you get that blank look. But you would get other managers that would walk past their employees and go and sit in their offices.
Yep.
And then when I would do it and they would say, oh, but he doesn't do that. The next morning he did, because I would make it a point of telling them it's about respecting those people because they come to work. Yes, you've been promoted, so it's your operation, you're in charge, but you're not above them. Without them, you're nothing. And we've got to remember that. It doesn't matter whether it's the cleaner. You know, I remember an instant when I used to work in Wembley, and one of the post persons came in who was inebriated, and he had soiled himself on the sorting office floor. I walked in and they put like buckets over it. And I said to them, what's going on there? Then they explained it to me. So I said, why is it still there? Well, because the cleaner won't do it. And I said, well, just get me some tissues and paper towels. I cleaned it up. And how can you expect someone else to do something that you won't do yourself? So to demonstrate that I am no different to any of you, I stooped down and cleaned it up. Because the managers were expecting the cleaner to, but hang on a second, why is it the cleaner's job and not yours? And it's little things like those that enable you to have to get respect from other people because you're giving it to them without any strings attached at all.
Yeah.
That's well said.
Absolutely. Sam, I wanted to ask, with respect to the Yoruba community, do you think, this is crossing over now, Caribbean, Yoruba, Caribbean, Nigerian, Caribbean, African, do you, and this is a question, put you on the spot here now.
Go on.
But when Caribbeans step into African social events, do you think for some, there might be I wouldn't say like if some things aren't practiced that they would normally expect,
Yeah.
do you think they would feel insult, or would they say, "Oh, they're not Nigerian, they're not, you know"? And is that in itself? Do you think that's a kind of a kind of a bar with some people in the African community and kind of coming together?
I think the thing about that is that some people are born in Britain, especially most of the people in my circles who are teachers, because those are the people that I meet most. Because they were born in Britain, some of them they've lost some of the sort of what we're discussing here tonight. And as such, they just, I mean, like 20-something-year-old will just call me by my name. I just smile.
Do you? Yeah, but that smile, Sam, that smile looks like my grandma's smile when she's like, "I go kill you."
I mean,
You're dead.
You got it. You got it. And I just smile and I just said, if I'm at home, you call me that name, people around me will tell, I don't need to say anything. They will talk to you and ask you where you are coming from, and they will tell you.
Yeah.
So Sam, when I go to Africa, okay,
Yeah.
so probably Ghana or Nigeria, one of the two I'll probably go to. If I'm walking through the markets and I'm walking with my stepdad, because my stepdad, I don't call him dad, I call him Henry.
Yeah.
And I say, Henry, what would happen? Do I need to get some go down to Wakanda and get armor?
You'd be dead. You'd be dead. Oh, who is Henry?
No, I'm telling you, when I came over here, right? Because one of my aunties, my stepdad's longest friend. So she did a big spread, a big Ghanaian spread of food when they got custody of me, and it was a huge celebration. Wonderful. She's like, "I'm your auntie, talk to me about anything great." And then I think I was going to the toilet, or want to go to the toilet. I said, "Oh, Henry, where's the toilet?" She went, "What? Who are you?" And then my dad had to step in and say, "No, I've given her permission because she has her dad." And then she was unsettled. She was even though my stepdad had said, "It was okay, I've given her permission," she was like, she sat down next to me.
What
my
type
dad
of
was on the other
permission?
end. Sorry, yes.
I said,
And she said,
what type of permission?
that's what she said. What type of permission? That's exactly what type. And she sat next to me. "You must try and call him dad, okay? Try. I'm like, I already have a dad. Yes, but he's not here. He's not here. And it never happened. But still, she was the whole time she was unsettled. She was the whole time. It was like banging pots in the kitchen. She's like, why did you allow that? And then he explained why. It's just, I think the process of me coming over was so traumatic. He obviously them working in mental health, they didn't want to add on an extra change, because like a cultural change. I was being severely bullied at school. It was like I was just going through the whole puberty thing as a girl. It was just a lot happening. And they didn't want, "Oh, by the way, you need to forget your dad, forget your family, and call it." That's not what it meant, obviously. But for a child of like 9-10, that's what it kind of would have meant in my mind. So I think they wanted to just save me of that. So that's why they kind of did it. Again, it's exactly what you said, the element of kind of European, because it was their training that they followed, because both my parents worked in mental health. So they were like, "No, we don't want to brick." But in Trinidad, we say we don't want to brick the child.
I want to tell you all a little story.
Yeah.
I don't know what possessed me, as my mother would have said, the devil took me. Anyway, I was upset and cross that it was always the girls in the kitchen. So what possessed me that day? I said, I'm not going into the kitchen. Let's just say I flew. Okay. And then she told my aunts, and they came round. They came round, and one of them sat and spoke to me. But let's just say the moral of the story was I went in the kitchen. There was no choice, because I said I didn't want to go. I don't see why I, as a girl, need to be in the kitchen. Why can't the boys? Oh, it was just like I was disrespected all my female relations, including my mother, and they called upon the Lord for my soul. And let's just say, when they call upon the Lord, you know you're in trouble.
You know,
you're in trouble. And that is all because I said I did not want to be in the kitchen.
I'm surprised you're alive today, Sonia, to tell that story.
So am I, because believe me, so am I.
My family are farmers, okay? So literally they grow everything from them and rear everything. My grandfather, the boys would slaughter, it goes up to the kitchen and the girls will cook, chop, whatever, okra and everything, okay? You say you don't want to do nothing?
I did.
Right?
I did.
No, there'll be a slipper dance. You know the slipper dance, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you want to eat in that food, if you want to eat, if you want to be part of the people that will be eating that food, then
Exactly it. You don't. I mean, some of the things, even my son says to me, or how he responds to me, it has to go through a filter. Because if we're in the Caribbean, it would be very different. I'll tell you the story. When I went to Trinidad, we were in favorite chicken. You know favorite chicken? Yeah. Okay. No, hang on. It wasn't favorite. It was not chapels. What's it called? Churches chicken. That's a big one. Gosh, no, that's a big one there in every anyway. So we're in Church's chicken, like their Kentucky Fried Chicken, right? And he was about, I don't know, maybe eight. He was throwing the biggest westernized tantrum. I say a westernized tantrum because no child in Trinidad would ever dare do that. So he was literally throwing himself on the floor, all because he didn't get what he wanted to get. He wanted to get a toy in the other store, and I said, no, it was too expensive. He was throwing himself on the floor, screaming. A lady came up to me. Do you know what she asked me?
I can imagine.
I bet you can't guess what she asked me.
Is he you? Oh.
No, she said, as clear as day, not even angry, literally as if someone would knock on your door and ask you for a cup of sugar. You want me to beat him for you? She wasn't joking.
I bet she wasn't.
And if I said yes, she would have put the tail right there. Yes. So I didn't grab my child because I thought, look, every person here is going to beat my child here if I don't calm him down. And they're going to say, yes, that's how you do it. Okay, that's how you do it. And it would be a teaching thing that they would be teaching me. I said, I responded and I said, oh no, thank you. Oh no, thank you. It's fine. We're just on holiday. Oh, you're not from here. Where are you from? I said, oh, we're from England. Oh, that's why he saw. Oh. That's why he saw. Oh my God.
And we all know what it means. We all know what it means.
You get the same thing when kids will grow up over here and they go to Nigeria. And there's certain little things they're doing or not doing, and everyone else is like, so
JJC, Johnny just come.
Yeah,
Johnny just come.
Jamaica. Yeah, Jamaica said the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a thing, and I think one lady, I think the manager, she had traveled, and she said it's okay, we understand. Not we, you understand. Everybody else here want to beat my child. Okay. It was so bad, the tantrum. It was literally like, it was just bad. It was really bad. And I was like, oh gosh, what's going to happen? And I thought maybe that Trinidad had moved on, because my cousins were saying, oh, we're really modern now and we do everything. No, they still do a cocktail. They still offer that for free.
So here, that was an example of it takes a village to raise a child.
Yes. That's it.
Yeah.
It's still there. It's literally still. And she said it like I would get the same approach for, is everything all right? Like over here, is everything okay? Do you want me to go to the shops for you? Do you want me to beat your child for you?
So matter of fact.
Yeah, it was just normal.
Foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
You were going to say yes.
Yes. Yeah. And I know obviously we have certain laws that would be completely wrong. So no one out there, and anyone out there who has suffered abuse, I apologize for that. Sorry if it has offended you. We were just explaining a cultural dynamic, you would call it. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I think the culture is like. And I think one thing I did want to mention is that I think that culturally how we're raised with respect and how we're taught respect in the African community and the Caribbean community, when the kids go into school and they start practicing those things, the teachers do not understand and they're ignorant to find out. I was hoping a couple of them would be on here today to kind of find out, but it is recorded so they can check in. Not all of them don't want to find out. I don't think they're even aware. I think they just assume because all children are brought up in the same bubble, then they should just be able to function in the same way. But if a child has a different element than another child, then obviously they're going to function differently than the other child. That could be culturally, that could be, different sexual orientation, it could be religion, it could be anything. So these things need to be taken into account when they're dealing with a child. And I do feel like with Black children, their behavior very quickly gets put down to, oh, he is an angry child. Oh, he's additional needs.
Another thing I've heard is he didn't look at me. But in our culture, we don't look at our adults. We don't.
No.
We're not being rude. We're being, again, that word, respectful.
Yeah.
But also, Michaela, sorry, also when, you go back to when the majority of African Caribbean kids were going to school and they were encountering teachers who they were saying, Mr., Mrs. or Sir, Miss. The view a lot of the times is you're taking the mick out of me. You are being deliberately disrespectful by saying that. When actually, because everyone was saying, all right, John, all right, Tom. And you then got a group of kids who are being respectful because that's what their background is. They're then tarred with that brush that they are deliberately taking the mickey.
Yeah.
When they're not.
They're not. No. And I do think that I think teachers should be aware of that. Even now, my son, when someone greets him, I have to tell him to raise up your head. There's a way to show respect. That's the other thing. Obviously, you don't look at adults in the eye. And my son is still not allowed to call adults by their first name. Some of my friends said, "Oh, I don't want him calling me Miss or Mrs." Well, he will call you Auntie, or nothing at all. And I've dropped. No, I have. It's either, and everybody knows it. Whether you're a pastor who, he can call me. No, my son will not be calling anyone by their first name. I don't care if you want to be into. Right, that's one thing I have kept. It's either Mr., Mrs., Auntie, or Uncle, or just a breeze, just a dry breeze. Nothing else. You show respect.
When I was growing up, I had so many uncles and aunties. I thought I had the biggest family in the world.
Yeah, same here.
Joe Bloggs would walk through the door and I'd be coming out of the room. Hello, uncle. Never seen this person in my life.
Yeah.
But I knew if I didn't, then something heavy was coming my way.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
sometimes you find that some people, I mean, like my uncle, I cannot call him uncle. I have to call him dad.
Yeah.
Because of his age. So that it's no longer an uncle, it's a dad. And the children then, when their dad came to Britain, then they started to ask him, why is he calling you dad?
Yeah.
So what age, Sam? What age?
He was 80 something when he died, and I was 50 something. But yet I cannot call him uncle. Because if I call him uncle, his wife will give me a mouthful.
Because you're being disrespectful.
Yep.
That
word again.
So that.
Yeah. I've got a godmother who's nearly 90.
Yeah.
And I still refer to her as godmother. I would never call her godmother Joyce. Because she would say, if she would ask me if you're mad or you're crazy. And I'll tell her I was neither. So it's, for me, it's godmother, not even godmother Joyce.
Yeah.
It's godmother. It's a sign of respect.
You don't have anybody's name to think.
No, never.
Nicknames you could, if you're given permission. So for example, in my village, there was he was like a bush tea man, so his name was Borny, because he was very thin. And I swear that guy was 50,000 years old, because there was people from generations saying, I've known this man since I was like 7. Is he gonna die? Oh gosh, the man's never dying, never. But he did pass. I think he was very old though. He like 110 or something he lived to. But his name was Boney, so I was allowed to call him. His real name wasn't Boney, but that's how everybody knew him. So there'd always be people like that. You can, like a nickname, but you do not call them by first name. And I think even in America, they have something similar. They have their government name, and they have like a name they give to family and friends, and then maybe another nickname that everyone knows them by. And sometimes some people get offended. Oh, you called me by a government name. So name seems to be name seems to be like a thing. I think with people.
And I've also, with friends who've got hard to spell or hard to pronounce name, I've learned, because I give you the name that you were baptized, the name that your parent. I never shorten a person's name. Never.
That's different with me, because I have about 10 names.
Oh, okay. Well, you're different then.
I know who is calling me by the name that they are calling.
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
10.
Yeah.
I have 3.
Well.
Yeah, I've got 3.
Yeah, I've got 3.
Well, it's quite a few.
There's 3 on my baptism certificate.
No.
Yeah.
I didn't even have a baptism certificate, although I was baptized. But I know that when my dad calls me, it's going to be Samu, which means Samuel. Okay, Samu, and he's the only one that calls me that. Then there's my uncle that will call me Alade. Then there's another one that will call me Shegun. Then another one will call me Olu. Then another one will call me Bamidele. Then another one will call me Dele. And
I see. See, my godmother now, she calls me Sony. That's a term of endearment. So if we are good, she'll call me Sony. But if I've been bad, it's Sonia, and I know there's trouble.
Yeah.
And if she calls me by my full name, well, leave home now.
Yeah. Full name.
You find that particular there, Sonia, is steeped in black culture.
Yeah.
In that, and I do exactly the same with my daughters. They've got a shortened name.
Yes.
But then if I call them by their full name, they know.
Yes.
And my mum used to call, and to this day she still does. Whenever because my name is Glenn Roy Russell, and so I spoke to her this evening. Hello, Glenn Roy, but that's not my name. My name's Glenn. She never says hello, Glenn. She always says, "Oh, Roy. Hello, Roy." And I'm thinking, okay, what have I not done?
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
And it really, when she says, "Hello, Roy," no one else calls me that. No one else calls me Glenn Roy. And if anyone's picking on me, any of my siblings, because I'm the oldest, she's there. Leave him alone. Even at this age.
Yeah.
You know, so, yeah.
Go and pick on someone your own age. Yeah. My mother always said, go and pick on someone your own age.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But we've become we are now the oldest. We're not the young ones anymore.
Yes.
Lies. I see nothing but youth in front of me.
Thank you. Love you, Michaela. I'm only 21.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah. And if my husband
I think this belies my age, Sonia.
That's wisdom, that is.
It's wisdom, it's highlights. You've dyed it.
You should celebrate.
Oh yes, definitely. But the thing is, every time I shave it off, it comes back even whiter. Honestly. It's like my grandmother, God rest her soul.
Yeah.
She died and she was 102.
Yeah.
And so she raised me until I was 6, when my parents left to come here. And forever I can remember she's had brilliant, pure white hair.
Yes.
And that's even when we went back at her funeral and in her coffin, what struck me was her white hair. It wasn't grey, it was white.
Yeah.
And to the day that she died, she had the fullest head of hair. Oh,
That's
it was
that for you.
That's
honest. It was amazing to see her in her white hair. No bits of black, just solid white.
Was it a weave, Glenn?
No, it wasn't a weave, Michaela. I can assure you of that. She went white very young, I think.
Yeah. No, those little things make us who we are today. To view a person in a coffin, that's an honor. That's respect.
Yeah,
that is a sign of respect, because I remember growing up, there would be this party of women. Okay, they were the hierarchy. You always wanted to be like them. Okay, but you would never be like that. I was told, and that it was their job to wash, prepare the person for the next life, and they always made sure them look good, because that's what they said, and they always made sure they walked with their Bible. That's what they always said.
Yep.
They're going to walk with their Bible.
Yeah, I remember when my mum's mum died when she was 105, bless her, and we went back, and they were up Georgetown, and so we were staying down at Ochi at my uncle's. So we would go up, and my mum, her sisters would go in, and they got my grandma ready for her funeral. And then she was interned with her husband, who had died previously on their land. And they lived in the bush in this village at the top of the hill, and the views around were spectacular. And at the time, his tomb was there. And then grandma went in to the same tomb, and the views that they've got around those from looking down was absolutely spectacular. And what gives me comfort is knowing that they're both there
together
and nothing's going to be built around them, so they will have that view for eternity.
Oh,
that's lovely. And these are the things we must hold on to, and we've got to pass on to our children. You know,
Definitely.
very
okay,
important.
guys.
Right, guys, we have come to almost few minutes to the end. So I'd like to thank you all for coming along to Black Voice Hertfordshire community meeting, and we will have Glenn back for October. We'll be having a big discussion for that month. Glenn's no pressure.
No pressure.
No pressure. That will be announced very, very soon. I'll work out with Glenn with what the titles is going to be, etc. But yeah, lots of things there. Thank you again, Sonia and Sam. Again, brilliant. I wish I want to talk about this more actually later on.
Good session today. Good session all.
The fundamentals of who we are is being lost. And not only would I like us to have those conversations about recognizing they're being lost, but also how do we implement them not being lost? How do we implement them into the youth, into what's going on in modern day, so that they're not lost? And we can make sure that we don't lose a part of ourselves as we move on to the future. Right, guys. So I will see you guys.
Take care, all.
Yeah.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.